The holographic message flickered to life in the Earth Defense Command Center, its alien script translating into stark warnings across Admiral Park Jin-woo's tactical display. The blue light cast strange shadows across his weathered face as he read the transmission that had just arrived from the depths of space. Commander Kim So-young stood at her station, her fingers dancing across the control panel as she processed the incoming data. The message had traveled through subspace channels, carrying with it the official seal of the Galactic Council. She cleared her throat and began reading the translated text aloud. "Standard compliance discussions," she announced, her voice carrying a note of skepticism that years of military service had taught her to express carefully. "They're requesting we send a modest transport vessel to the neutral station at Kepler 4 for 2B. For what they term routine administrative matters." Admiral Park leaned back in his command chair, his dark eyes studying the holographic display, with the careful attention of a man who had spent decades navigating both the vast emptiness of space and the treacherous waters of interstellar politics. The message bore the ornate signature of Zephyrian Administrator Velthor, whose flowery diplomatic language barely concealed what appeared to be a thinly veiled summons to subjugation. The Admiral's fingers drummed against the armrest of his chair as he considered the implications. Humanity had been the newest member of the Galactic Council for barely 6 months, and already the established powers were moving to establish the pecking order. The timing was suspicious, the language carefully chosen to suggest routine procedure. While demanding immediate compliance, Lieutenant Han Kung-soo looked up from his position at the intelligence station, his young face serious with concern. "Sir, our deep space monitoring suggests this isn't as routine as they claim. 3 other species have received similar summons in the past year. Each emerged from these meetings with significantly restricted trading rights and limited access. 2 galactic shipping lanes." Park nodded grimly, his suspicions confirmed. The pattern was clear to anyone who bothered to look. The Council's established members used these so-called compliance discussions to bring new species into line, ensuring they understood their place in the galactic hierarchy. The aliens expected Earth to send some primitive shuttle allowing them to demonstrate their technological superiority and impose their will on humanity's representatives. The command center buzzed with quiet activity as officers monitored incoming reports from across human space. Earth's colonies had been thriving since contact with the galactic community, but that prosperity had apparently attracted unwanted attention. The established powers viewed humanity's rapid expansion and technological development as a threat to the existing order. Commander Kim So-young pulled up additional files on her display, her expression growing more troubled as she read. "Admiral, the intelligence reports suggest that species who resist these compliance measures often find themselves facing mysterious technical failures in their ships, supply shortages, and diplomatic isolation." Park rose from his chair and walked to the massive viewport that dominated one wall of the command center. Beyond the transparent aluminum, Earth hung in space like a blue jewel, its surface dotted with the lights of cities and orbital installations. Humanity had come so far in such a short time, building a civilization that spanned star systems and developing technology that rivaled anything the galaxy had to offer. "They want to meet Earth's representatives," Park said quietly, his voice carrying the weight of decision. "They expect us to arrive in some crude transport, hat in hand, ready to accept whatever restrictions they choose to impose." The Admiral turned back to his staff, his expression hardening with resolve. Years of commanding Earth's defense forces had taught him that weakness invited aggression, while strength commanded respect. The aliens thought they were dealing with another primitive species, easily intimidated and controlled. Lieutenant Han Kung-soo accessed the fleet deployment records, his fingers moving quickly across the interface. If we're going to send a message, we have options. The courier ships are fast and diplomatic, or we could deploy one of the heavy cruisers to show we're serious about our sovereignty." Park shook his head, a slight smile playing at the corners of his mouth. If the Galactic Council wanted to test humanity's resolve, they would get their answer, but it wouldn't be the response they expected. "Prepare the Defiant," Park ordered, his voice carrying the quiet authority of a man accustomed to making decisions that shaped worlds and determined the fate of entire civilizations. If they want to meet Earth's representatives, they'll meet them properly. The command center fell, silent for a moment as the implications of the order sank in. The used Defiant wasn't just any ship in Earth's fleet. It was humanity's most powerful warship. A kilometer-long dreadnought that represented the absolute pinnacle of human engineering and military capability. "Commander?" Kim So-young's eyes widened slightly before she composed herself and began entering. "The necessary commands." "Understood, sir." "I'll have Captain Lee Dong-hyeon briefed immediately." As the orders went out across the fleet communications network, Park returned to his viewport. The aliens had made their move, expecting humanity to respond with submission. Instead, they would discover that Earth's newest members of the galactic community were not the primitive species they had assumed. The message would be clear and unmistakable. The used Defiant hung in Earth's orbital shipyard like a sleeping giant, its massive form casting shadows across the smaller vessels that scurried around it like insects. The kilometer-long hull gleamed under the harsh lights of the construction bay, every surface bristling with weapon systems and sensor arrays that represented decades of human innovation and engineering excellence. Captain Lee Dong-hyeon stood on the bridge of the mighty warship, his hands clasped behind his back as he watched the final preparations through the massive viewport. Supply ships moved with practiced efficiency, their mechanical arms detaching from the dreadnought's flanks after completing the last of their deliveries. Fuel lines retracted with mechanical precision, and the external work platforms began folding. Away from the hull, the bridge around him hummed with quiet activity as his officers ran through their final checks. Each station displayed streams of data, confirming that every system aboard the massive vessel was functioning at peak efficiency. The Defiant was more than just a ship. It was a floating city, a statement of human technological prowess that few species in the galaxy could match. Commander Choi Min-young looked up from her position at the engineering station, her voice crisp and professional as she delivered her report. "Final systems check complete, Captain. All departments report ready for departure. Engineering reports all reactors operating at optimal parameters, and weapon systems are fully charged and ready." Captain Lee nodded, his expression calm despite the weight of responsibility resting on his shoulders. The Defiant's crew of 3,000 had been carefully selected for this mission. Each member chosen not just for their technical skills, but for their ability to represent humanity on the galactic stage. Every officer understood the stakes they faced. This was humanity's first major diplomatic test. Since joining the galactic community, and failure could mean isolation or worse, Lieutenant Park Soo-jin worked at the communications station monitoring the steady stream of messages flowing between Earth Command and the ship. Her fingers moved across the control panel with practiced ease as she coordinated with ground control and the orbital facilities. The launch of the Defiant had been kept secret from most of the galaxy, but Earth's military leadership understood the importance of this moment. What the aliens didn't know was that this wasn't just any ship in Earth's fleet. The Defiant was humanity's most feared warship, a vessel capable of reducing entire enemy fleets to scrap metal and space debris. Its weapon systems could crack the hull of a battlecruiser with a single shot, and its defensive shields could withstand bombardment that would destroy lesser vessels. The captain walked to the tactical display, where holographic projections showed the ship's current status and the route they would take to reach their destination. The journey to Kepler 442b would take them through several star systems, each one monitored by the various species that made up the Galactic Council. Word of their passage would spread quickly through the galaxy's intelligence networks. "Navigation, plot a course for Kepler 442b, Captain Lee commanded, his voice carrying the authority of a man who had spent years commanding vessels in the dangerous reaches of space. "Maximum velocity. Let's not keep our hosts waiting." The navigation officer's hands moved across his controls, inputting the coordinates and calculating the optimal route through hyperspace. The journey would take them past several inhabited systems, ensuring that news of their passage would reach the Council long before they arrived at the diplomatic station. Throughout the ship, the crew made their final preparations. The engineering sections technicians monitored the massive reactors that powered the vessel's systems. The weapons bays hummed with energy as the ship's defensive systems came online. In the hangar bays, pilots ran final checks on their fighters. Knowing that they might be called upon to defend the ship if diplomatic talks failed, as the countdown to departure reached its final moments, Captain Lee took his position in the command chair. The bridge fell silent except for the soft hum of the ship's systems and the quiet voices of his officers as they monitored their stations. "All stations report ready for departure," Commander Choi announced from her position. "Engineering reports all systems green. We are ready to jump to hyperspace on your command." The massive vessel's engines began their startup sequence, the sound building from a low rumble to a powerful roar that echoed through the ship's hull. Outside the viewport, the orbital facility began to move away as the Defiant slowly pulled away from its berth. The blue-white light of the engines bathed the surrounding structures in an ethereal glow, illuminating the faces of the workers, would help prepare the ship for its mission. The irony of the situation wasn't lost on the human crew. The Galactic Council had requested that Earth send a modest transport vessel, expecting humanity to arrive in some primitive shuttle that would demonstrate their technological inferiority. Instead, they would receive humanity's most powerful, a statement of intent, a kilometer-long dreadnought that could outfight any vessel in the galaxy. "Jump to hyperspace," Captain Lee ordered, his voice steady and confident. The stars outside the viewport suddenly stretched into lines of light as the Defiant's hyperdrive engaged. The massive warship disappeared from Earth's orbital space, leaving only the fading glow of its engines and the knowledge that humanity had just made its boldest move in galactic politics. The diplomatic station at Kepler 44 to be floated peacefully. In the void, its modest 3-kilometer diameter hull reflecting the soft light of the nearby star. The structure had been built specifically for negotiations between different species, with conference rooms designed to accommodate various alien anatomies and environmental requirements. Its docking bays were sized for shuttles and light transports, the kind of vessels that typically carried diplomatic delegations across the galaxy. Administrator Velthar stood at the observation deck, his tall, slender frame draped in the ceremonial robes of his office. His forearms were folded across his chest as he gazed out at the empty space beyond the station, waiting for the arrival of Earth's representatives. The Zephyrian official had conducted dozens of these compliance meetings over the years, each one following the same predictable pattern. The newer species would arrive in whatever primitive vessel they could manage, usually some converted cargo, hauler, or basic transport. Their representatives would be nervous and uncertain, overwhelmed by the grandeur of the galactic community and eager to please their more advanced neighbors. Velthar would deliver his prepared speeches about galactic law and proper conduct, outlining the restrictions that would ensure these newcomers knew their place in the established order. He checked his chronometer, noting that the humans were due to arrive at any moment. His aide, a nervous young Zephyrian named Kethmel, shuffled through the documents they would present to Earth's delegation. The trade restrictions were particularly comprehensive, limiting human expansion and ensuring that their technological development remained under Council oversight. The station's sensors detected the approaching hyperspace signature several minutes before the actual arrival. Velthor straightened his robes and prepared to witness what he expected would be a fumbling entrance by Earth's primitive representatives. His patience carried the condescending quality of a teacher waiting for struggling students to complete a simple task. That patience evaporated completely when the Defiant dropped out of hyperspace. The massive human dreadnought materialized directly above the station with a flash of displaced energy that temporarily blinded the external sensors. The kilometer-long vessel emerged from the swirling vortex of hyperspace like some ancient sea monster rising from the depths, its hull bristling with weapon systems and sensor arrays that dwarfed anything the station's designers had ever imagined. The sheer scale of the human warship was overwhelming. Its bulk cast shadows across the entire alien facility, blocking out the light of the star and plunging sections of the station into darkness. The Defiant's hull stretched far beyond the limits of the observation deck's viewport, its massive engines still glowing with residual heat from the hyperspace. Jump. Emergency klaxons began wailing throughout the station as personnel scrambled to their posts. The sensor operators stared at their displays in disbelief, their instruments barely able to process the readings they were receiving. The human vessel registered as having more firepower than the entire station's defensive fleet combined. By. The Seven Sons, Veltor whispered, his forearms trembling as he pressed against the transparent aluminum of the observation deck. His voice cracked with shock as he stared up at the kilometer-long warship hovering above them.
Oh, what have they
sent us? The communication system crackled to life with a voice that carried the calm authority of a professional military officer. Captain Lee Donghain's words cut through the chaos on the station with measured precision and diplomatic courtesy.
Eckler?
Station, this is Captain Lee Donghyun of the United Earthship Defiant, requesting permission to begin diplomatic proceedings as scheduled. You're prepared to dock at your earliest convenience. Station's docking bay supervisor, a portly alien named Grexton, stared at his readouts with growing panic. His facility had been designed for vessels measuring at most a few hundred meters in length. The human ship's auxiliary craft alone were larger than most of the diplomatic vessels that normally visited the station. Sir Grexon's voice squeaked. Through the intercom system, our docking facilities cannot accommodate a vessel of this ... magnitude. The Defiant is simply too large for our berths. The massive vessel remained in orbit above the station, its weapon systems powered down but unmistakably present. Every sensor array and gun turret served as a silent testament to Earth's true technological capabilities. The smooth lines of the hull spoke of advanced engineering, while the size alone demonstrated industrial capacity that the Council had never suspected humanity possessed. Communications. Officer Yoon Ji-hai sat at her station aboard the Defiant, monitoring the flood of alien chatter that filled the communication channels. Her translation software worked overtime to process the dozens of languages being spoken simultaneously. As word of the human ship's arrival spread throughout the station's crew, "Sir," she reported to Captain Lee with barely concealed amusement, "they're requesting clarification on our vessel classification. Apparently, they don't have a category for what one of them just called a diplomatic dreadnought." The captain allowed himself a slight smile as he observed the chaos their arrival had caused. Through the bridge's main viewport, he could see the frantic activity aboard the alien station as its crew tried to process what they were seeing. Emergency lights flashed across the facility's hull. Small ships could be seen launching from various bays as security patrols scrambled to respond to the unexpected arrival. The message was already clear. Even before the actual diplomatic talks began, the diplomatic meeting proceeded in the station's main conference chamber. But the atmosphere had changed dramatically from what Administrator Velthor had planned. The ornate room, designed to impress visiting delegations with its soaring ceilings and polished surfaces, now felt cramped and inadequate. Through the massive viewport that dominated one wall, the hull of the Defiant stretched endlessly, its dark metal surface reflecting the light of the distant star. Velthor sat at the head of the curved conference table, his forearms fidgeting nervously with the documents spread before him. His prepared speeches about human technological limitations seemed absurd when delivered. Beneath the shadow of a vessel that could reduce his entire station to glowing debris in a matter of seconds, the confident demeanor he had maintained for decades of similar meetings had crumbled the moment the human warship had appeared. Captain Lee Donghyun sat across from the alien delegation with calm authority, his posture relaxed but alert. His uniform bore the simple insignia of Earth's space forces, but his presence filled the room with quiet confidence. Flanking him were the carefully selected members of his diplomatic team, each one chosen for their ability to represent humanity's interests in this crucial negotiation. Commander Kim So-young served as the mission's political officer, a role requiring her to balance military precision with diplomatic finesse. She had studied the proposed agreements during the journey to the station, analyzing every clause and provision with the thoroughness of a lawyer preparing for trial. Her dark eyes scanned the documents with the confidence of someone who held all the cards in this particular game. "The trade restrictions you've proposed are certainly interesting," Kim said, her tone diplomatically neutral as she reviewed the thick stack of papers. Her fingers traced the alien script that had been translated into human languages, each line representing another attempt to limit Earth's expansion and development. However, Earth finds these terms incompatible with our understanding of true partnership. The alien delegation shifted uncomfortably in their seats as Kim continued her review. What they had presented as standard galactic procedure was being dissected with surgical precision by someone who clearly understood the implications of every clause. The restrictions on human shipping routes, the limitations on technological development, and the mandatory oversight provisions were all being questioned with polite but firm resolve. Velthora's confidence crumbled further with each human counteroffer. His carefully prepared presentation about galactic law and proper conduct had been reduced to stammering explanations as the humans demonstrated their thorough understanding of interstellar politics. What was meant to be a session of alien superiority had become a careful dance of mutual respect, with the humans leading every step. These shipping lane restrictions, Captain Lee observed, pointing to a specific section of the agreement, seemed designed to prevent human vessels from accessing the most profitable trade routes. Surely the Council doesn't expect us to agree to such limitations on our commercial activities. The captain's voice carried no anger or accusation, but his words cut through the diplomatic language to expose the true intent of the proposed restrictions. The alien delegation exchanged nervous glances, realizing that their usual tactics of overwhelming newcomers with complex legal language had failed completely. Through the chamber's viewport, Defiant's hull gleamed in the system's starlight, its weapons arrays clearly visible even from this distance. The massive ship served as a constant reminder of Earth's true capabilities, a silent presence that transformed every word spoken in the conference room. The vessel's very existence changed the balance of power in ways that no amount of diplomatic maneuvering could overcome. Perhaps, Captain Lee suggested, his tone remaining conversational despite the weight of his words. We might discuss partnerships based on mutual benefit and technological exchange. Earth has certain capabilities that might prove valuable to the Council. Just as the Council has knowledge that could benefit humanity, the suggestion was delivered with the same calm authority that had marked the entire human presentation. But its implications were revolutionary. Instead of accepting the role of junior partner that the Council had prepared for them, the humans were proposing a relationship between equals. Lieutenant Park Soo-jin remained aboard the Defiant, monitoring communications from her position on the bridge. Her screens displayed a constant stream of encrypted messages flowing between the diplomatic station and various Council worlds. The arrival of the human dreadnought had sent shockwaves through the galactic community, forcing rapid reassessments of humanity's technological capabilities and military strength. Captain, she reported through her communicator, I'm detecting significant communication traffic between the station and several Council homeworlds. It appears that other species are hastily revising their own assessments of human capabilities. News confirmed what everyone in the conference room already understood. The galaxy was learning that Earth's newest members were not the primitive species they had assumed. The Defiant's presence had shattered decades of assumptions about human development, forced a complete reevaluation of Earth's place in the galactic community. As the negotiations continued, the restrictive agreements the Council had planned to impose were politely but firmly declined. Each human counteroffer demonstrated sophisticated understanding of galactic politics and unwavering determination to protect their species' interests. The message was unmistakable. Humanity would engage with the galaxy, but never from a position of weakness or subservience. The conference room that had witnessed so many species bend to Council authority was now hosting something entirely different, a negotiation between equals, conducted in the shadow of humanity's most powerful statement of intent. The meeting concluded with the signing of a revised treaty that established Earth as a full partner in galactic affairs rather than a subordinate member. The document that lay before Captain Lee bore little resemblance to the restrictive agreement that Administrator Velthor had originally prepared. Hours of careful negotiation had transformed the terms from those of conquest to those of cooperation. Captain Lee lifted the ceremonial stylus, its alien design feeling strange in his human hands. The weight of the moment pressed down on him as he realized he was about to sign the most important document in human history. The same steady hand that had commanded the Defiant through the depths of space and guided it safely to this distant station, he affixed his signature to the treaty. The alien script flowed across the page alongside human text, creating a document that symbolized the new relationship between Earth and the galactic community. Commander Kim So-young witnessed the signature with quiet satisfaction, knowing that their mission had succeeded beyond all expectations. The trade routes that had been closed to humanity were now open, and the technological exchanges that had been forbidden were now. Encouraged, Administrator Velthar watched the signing ceremony with emotions that warred between humiliation and genuine respect. His earlier arrogance had been replaced by the grudging acknowledgement that he had badly misjudged these newcomers. As the formal proceedings concluded and the various delegates began preparing to depart, he found himself approaching the human captain with hesitant steps. "Captain Lee," Velthar said, his voice carrying none of the condescension that had marked his earlier words. His forearms gestured nervously as he struggled to find the right words. "We may have underestimated your species' development." Council's intelligence reports clearly failed to capture the true extent of human capabilities. Lee turned to face the alien administrator, his expression remaining diplomatically neutral, despite the satisfaction he felt at the admission. The negotiations had been challenging, but they had achieved exactly what Earth's leadership had hoped for. Humanity had taken its place as an equal partner in the galactic community. Perhaps, Lee replied with careful diplomacy, but understanding is the foundation of all good partnerships. Today marks the beginning of what I hope will be a long and productive relationship between our peoples. The captain's words carried no trace of triumph or mockery, despite the complete reversal of the Council's original intentions. His professionalism and victory impressed even those aliens who had opposed him most strongly during the negotiations. The humans had demonstrated not only their technological prowess, but also their capacity for statesmanship, as the Defiant prepared to depart. Its massive engines began their startup sequence with a low rumble that vibrated through the station's hull. The brilliant light of the engine core cast dancing shadows across the diplomatic facility, illuminating the faces of the alien delegation as they watched through the conference room's viewport. The kilometer-long dreadnought maneuvered with surprising grace, its bulk belying the precision of its movements. The ship's thrusters fired in carefully calculated bursts, slowly turning the massive vessel toward open space. Every movement was controlled and deliberate, a final demonstration of the engineering excellence that had made the day's success. Possible Captain Lee stood on the bridge of his ship, watching the diplomatic station fall away beneath them. The mission had been a complete success, but he knew that the real work was just beginning. Earth would now have to prove itself worthy of the partnership it had negotiated, demonstrating that humanity could contribute meaningfully to the galactic community. Navigation. Plot a course for Earth, Captain Lee commanded from his position in the command chair. His voice carried the satisfaction of a job well done, though his expression remained professionally composed. Mission accomplished. The massive battleship's engines ignited with a brilliant flash of blue-white light that briefly outshone the system's star. The Defiant disappeared into hyperspace, leaving behind only the fading glow of its passage and the knowledge that the galaxy had fundamentally changed in a single day. The diplomatic station was left in contemplative quiet, its crew still processing what they had witnessed. The arrival of the human dreadnought had shattered assumptions that had governed galactic politics for centuries. In the span of a few hours, a species that had been dismissed as primitive had demonstrated capabilities that rivaled the most advanced civilizations in the galaxy. Back on Earth, Admiral Park Jin-woo reviewed the mission reports with satisfaction from his position in the Defense Command Center. The holographic displays showed the successful completion of every objective. From the initial diplomatic contact to the final treaty signing, the message had been sent clearly and unmistakably. Humanity would engage with the galaxy, but never from a position of weakness or subservience. In the weeks that followed, other species began reaching out to Earth with genuine offers of cooperation. The Altarian Trade Consortium proposed joint ventures in asteroid mining. The Centauri Research Institute suggested collaborative projects in advanced physics. Even the mighty Andromedans, who had maintained their isolation for millennia, sent diplomatic feelers toward the human homeworld. The galaxy had learned an important lesson that would be remembered for generations. When humans were invited to a diplomatic meeting, they didn't send a shuttle filled with nervous representatives. They sent a statement of intent that no one could ignore or dismiss. Commander, Kim So-young's final report summarized the missions. Success in terms that would be studied by diplomatic academies across human space. Earth has established its position in the galactic community. We are partners, not subjects. The age of human expansion had truly begun.